Hello, hey, today I want to share with you my Pine phone. All right, this is running the current version of Pine OS 2.0. All right, it has all the newest bells, whistles, and features. And whenever I unplug my Pine phone at the beginning of the day, take the cable out of it, it's obviously we're pretending this is an average smartphone. It runs throughout the day and it's connecting to the internet, sharing all your information that you may or may not want to be shared, which is a whole different video. The and connecting to everything. It's draining the power out of the battery of every little thing it does throughout the day. And as it gets longer in the day, some of these little power saving features kick in, and the screen starts getting a little bit dimmer, and it starts running a little bit slower, and it's not communicating across the internet quite as much because it takes more power to accomplish all those things. And then it almost gets to the point it almost doesn't even run. And then by the end of the day, we had to plug it back in, and we had to plug it into power again, and something magical happens as soon as it gets plugged into power. Everything gets re-enabled. It starts connecting to the internet again, sharing all kind of information, and then the screen's bright, it's all working faster, and it's like a brand new phone again at that point. Until the next day, it goes back down, going down that roller coaster ride again. So in many cases, my Pine phone is very similar to what we do in life. We have we get connected and we go through life, and the more we do, sometimes it kind of starts wearing on us. We get kind of tired and we get kind of slower throughout the day, that we start to lose the connection we have, a connection with our environment, our connection with the seasons, a connection with Earth, and a connection with our spirituality also. And me was a connection that I have with God. The and a lot of these things that it's easy to put them on the back burner. All that takes too much time and everything. But what happens is our emotional and spiritual batteries start wearing out. And when that happens, we start kind of feel like we're missing out on something. There's not quite something quite right. It's like we're running. Running our battery on our phone at 5%. We know something not right with my Pine phone. Why is it so slow? I just need to throw it away or get a replacement Pine phone. All right, because it's running so slow. But no, it really is just the fact that our batteries need to be recharged. We need to reestablish that connection, just like the Pine phone being plugged into power. And and one of the things, there's lots of ways we can do this. And one of the things I want to talk about first is I feel like connecting with nature and the seasons helps us to reestablish our flow and connection. Now you could also argue this where being connected with people and all that thing, connected with social media and all that. Yeah, I mean that's got positive things, but it's not real. All right, that could end overnight. Something bad can happen, flash, boom. All that's gone. But the earth will always be here. The seasons will always be here. And these are things that are solid, they're real, and they exist. And a lot of us have lost our connection and our flow with that. A classic example is, let's go back to early 1900s, or maybe 1900s, or even maybe older, later than that. And you look at the average farmer or somebody who had a small farm that were raising their own food. They knew during the winter things were slow, but during the spring, as soon as it started getting warm, they would start working in the fields and getting things ready, planting seeds. And during the summer, then they would start continuing weeding and keeping everything growing good. And then near the end of the season, during autumn, or fall, they would start harvesting, have a big harvest, maybe even a feast. They'd be preparing their food, saving their food, fermenting their food, putting it in stock rooms, putting holes in the ground, and all these things, whether it be fermenting, that was connecting their food back with the earth. Fermenting was giving that bacteria that's good for the gut. Putting potatoes in a root cellar so they would be cold. I mean, without using a refrigerator, that was once again connecting this potatoes back with the earth, taking them out of the earth and then eating them, and not being fish, not being hyper cleaned or ultra pasteurized and all those things. Don't get me wrong, all that has its place, but too much of that is removing even our food and everything we have away from the connections that we have with the earth and with God, in my feeling. And as we go on, we live that way, and we teach our kids to be that way, and they teach your kids to be that way, and that connection goes further and further. The next thing you know, your pine phone's only being plugged in once a week, and you can only use it for an hour a day. All right, so I feel like we need to reestablish those connections, and I need to do it too. All right, I'm just not saying everybody's bad and I'm awesome. No, I'm not. I need to do more of it. This is the first time me and my wife have been out this whole in months into the forest, and we totally regret that. But there was one thing I want to read here from Ephesians. And this is Paul wrote a letter to the Ephesian church whenever he was in prison, and he was talking and giving them some guidance here. It says, this is from chapter 4, and about the middle of it. You have one master, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who rules over all, works through all, and is present in all. Everything you are and think and do is permeated with oneness. This kind of backs up and it helps me give me understanding more the way I feel God is. God created the heaven and the earth. So if God created something, his hand is in it. So if I connect with those things that he created, and I feel like he's in it, and it's like I'm holding hands with God. So next we're going to go a few things that I feel like that I do, and maybe you want to try to help reestablish these connections. A couple of things that I recommend you can do to help get connected and reestablish your connection. They can be simple things, as far as taking your shoes off. Taking your shoes off and walking around a little bit. If you don't have an outside area or grass that you can walk on, even taking your shoes off in the house is something. But ideally, if you can dig your toes in some dirt and everything. With this park that we're at here in High Point, North Carolina, in the past I would come out here and I would go walking and I would take my shoes off maybe for like 5 minutes on a kind of nicer area, not so rocky. And it kind of seemed to make a difference for that one whole year that I did that, pretty much nonstop on a regular basis. Of course, now I come out here and it's got to kind of ease into it. All right. So if you're going to do the barefoot thing, don't go crazy, and it could be oversensitizing on your feet and everything. So, but that's just something simple, taking your shoes off. The other things is, when you're all walking, if you have a park or something that you can go to, or even if you have a tree in your yard or something, kind of get a little personal with those things. There's nothing wrong with giving a tree a name. I may call this tree Frank. Well, next time I come out here, I'm gonna say there's Frank. All right, Frank was in this video with us, with my granddaughter and my wife. All right, and no, it doesn't mean I'm worshiping this tree. No, I'm not saying that. But it's just kind of establishing that little connection with your environment. All right, hey, you're walking by, there's Frank every day. You walk by Frank, and there's Sally, and so on and so forth. Okay, and in addition to that, working with the ground. That kind of gets you back into there. And we've been so afraid of germs. That's what we've been going through in the last couple of years here with everybody. We're hyper sanitized and everything. We need to go back in and get dirty. Go back into the garden. Even if you just have a flower pot and you grow one tomato plant, that is something. All right. And again, go as big as you can, go comfortably. And that also kind of helps you get connected back with the seasons. And as far as in the spring you can start planting something, and then in the summer you can harvest it, and in the fall you start closing up the garden. It gets your body and your mind kind of in that flow of the seasons that humanity's been going through since existence, that I've gotten away from, because we can get anything we want any time of the year in any place just about. All right, so granted. My wife eats more tomatoes than I do, and she will still get tomatoes from the grocery store in December. All right, and we all know tomatoes do not grow in the southern in North Carolina in December. Okay, so we know that came from somewhere else, some greenhouse, hothouse, or whatever, and it tasted like disappointment, as some people would say. All right, but when it's your own, of course, you know that you grew it and all that. So that goes back to those connections. Gardening is a great way for that too. And also just touching earth, getting and making contact, like with a tree. I mean, just touching the tree. I mean, don't be afraid of it. You know, don't. If somebody let's say, "What's that weird person over there doing with a tree?" And yeah, even hugging a tree. I'm hesitant to even use that word. All my kids, when they grew up, when we went hiking, I always made them hug a tree. Not every time, but several times. And even to this day, they all remember that. And I believe this little girl here, I believe her mom has meeting and told her to hug a tree before too. So now we are going to hug. We're going to do a group hug on Frank here. So I thought let's call group hug Frank. Here we go. And we're going to hug each other. All right. Yeah. Is Frank hurting you? Grandma hurting you? All right, good. All right. This doesn't mean anything bad. I mean, is there anything wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. We're not worshiping this tree. We know this tree is an inanimate object, but at the same time, God created everything. So in a way, right now, I'm shaking hands with God. I feel like it. All right, because He's in everything, in my belief. But I hope this kind of helps you a little bit here to think about a few things. We're just going to close up with a little song, and we're going to get started.